Welcome to the 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. Saturday, September 3rd, 2016 update for Hermine, or shall we call this extratropical hybrid storm Hermine. Um, this is a satellite loop, an infrared satellite loop here. And we've been in the clouds most of the day, but something unusual has happened in the past, I would say 2 to 3 hours. These clouds here are retreating to the east, and it's clearing out actually over western Long Island and northern New Jersey. Um, it's like a little ridge of high pressure that's trying to push these clouds away. I don't know what that means for the long-term forecast, but it's an interesting little feature. Now, if we look south, you'll see here is Hermine here, and you can see really the brightest clouds are actually well to the north of the system. It's really looking very extratropical, but that doesn't mean we should underestimate what it can do. That's for sure. So let's take a look now at a wider image here. This is from the Weather Service, and you can see here that the highest cloud tops are colored here. And this is actually where the center of the storm is, right here where I have my mouse, right here off the Carolina coast. You can see where it is and where it's moving. And you can see pretty much that the storm is moving almost due east almost. It seems to be tracking a little further offshore than what I thought. But again, the problem is we have this blocking ridge in the Atlantic. Now, if a miracle happens, maybe this thing will move a little further east and we won't see as much effects of it. But it is looking extratropical. It really is. It's starting to become a hybrid type of storm now. So that means it's going to retain some tropical characteristics, but it will also have, it's like a combination of a nor'easter and a tropical storm into one. Now we're going to look at the actual map from the Hurricane Center here. Alright? And we look here, you will see toward the bottom of your screen here that the maximum sustained winds are now up to 70 miles an hour. And they anticipate probably the winds reaching hurricane strength, but it won't really be a true hurricane. I want to take you to a somewhat wider view here. This is the forecast from the National Hurricane Center, and they call it Post-Tropical Cyclone Hermine. So as of 5 p.m., that's the most current one we have, the maximum sustained winds are 70 miles an hour, and the movement is, you can see how it's slowed down, the movement is east-northeast now at 12. And they have it basically continuing that motion very slowly to the east-northeast, and then by tomorrow afternoon, it's going to start recurving a little bit back toward the land. That's what they say is going to happen. But still, when you look at this track, it keeps the worst of the storm away from us. That doesn't mean we don't see effects, but it keeps the worst of the storm away from us. I think that the effects that we are going to see is the prolonged strong easterly, northeasterly winds, and while the winds probably won't reach, I don't think they're going to reach hurricane strength. I think we're going to see gusts possibly up to 50 miles an hour in our area, particularly right along the water, and that's going to cause flooding in the low-lying areas on the North Shore, as well as flooding on the South Shore and the Barrier Islands and beach erosion. I think the Jersey Shore, because of that easterly fetch, is probably going to get hit even harder with that. And that's why you see the blue here. This is all tropical storm warnings, and the yellow here is tropical storm watch, which will probably become a warning very shortly. And that's pretty much what it is. The worst conditions probably will hopefully stay offshore. I'm hoping that is what is going to happen, according to this track anyway. But you can see the problem is the slow motion of the storm. All right, Tuesday, all right, it's still there. Wednesday, it actually comes closer, and then Thursday, it starts moving away. So imagine the storm moving this slow. It's very unusual for a tropical system to move this slow, let alone a nor'easter. It's very unusual, and it's because of that unusual ridging that we've talked about. So now let's take a look. Let me take a look at one more satellite image of the storm, and this is from NASA. You can see it is quite a storm here. It still sort of has an eye, but it's sort of looking, like I said, combination extratropical. But I mean, this thing bears a lot of resemblance to Sandy in some ways. There are many differences, obviously, but it bears a somewhat resemblance in being a hybrid type of storm, and that makes it very dangerous. However, as long as it stays offshore, we will be spared the brunt of the storm, as long as it stays offshore. So we hope it does. So now let's take a look at some of the computer models here that we have available for us here, and we're going to look at the GFS here. I'm using a different model page called Tropical Tidbits, which I think is a little better than what I was using before. So this will be better. So we're going to forward it here. Let me just move this, get this right. I think I can just do this. Yeah, here we go. So watch as it moves along here, all right? This is tomorrow. This is actually around midnight tomorrow, Sunday. And then you could watch, and you can see how it intensifies. And it looks like it gives us some rain, but here's what happens here. As we go into Monday, it starts looping back. It starts like kind of moving westward toward the Jersey Shore, and then it just sits there. And this is the problem. And like I said, while the brunt stays offshore, it's a prolonged event, and that means that the winds will last longer. And as it moves toward New England and the cooler waters, I think it would be of tendency to weaken. As you can see, it's starting to weaken. But we're at Wednesday, and it's still there. And look at how long it just takes to move away. So, yeah, it takes forever to move away, basically. So, that's the GFS. And it is definitely something to be concerned about with this storm here. It's definitely going to intensify. It's just the duration, the fact it stalls, and it does like a loop-de-loop. I think the areas that's going to see the brunt right now of the storm is probably going to be the Jersey Shore. So let me see here how it. Let me just go through the process again so you can see what's going on. Again, this website is tropicaltidbits.com. It's much better. The resolution on the models is much better. Let's look at some of these other models. Let's look at the Euro. All right. So, again, this is the Euro, which actually did get the westward track of Sandy right when Sandy hit us. So, again, it sort of takes us out to sea tomorrow, Sunday, but then it probably does this. Yeah, it loops it right back at us again right in the Monday morning and actually puts us right back into it. So, let's just forward this here, and you'll see that it just kind of sits there and then moves away. At least I like the Euro because it moves it away a little quicker, and I'm thinking that's a little more realistic. I can't imagine it just sitting there. I mean, that's unheard of. That's just crazy. So that is the Euro, basically. Let's go ahead and look at some of these other models here. Canadian. Let's look at that. So here we go, Canadian. Let's see what the Canadian does with it. They're all kind of, oh boy, Canadian is scary. That's scary. That brings us right, that would be a devastating hit for the Jersey Shore. That would be devastating. I think that's rather unlikely. I really do. At this point, that model is not really terribly good with tropical systems. I want to look at the NavGem, which is another model. I think that's the NAM. Let's look at that. I want to move. Alright, it's not moving. Alright, let's try this. Alright. There's only... Okay, that's why. Let's look at some of these other models here. Let's look at some of these hurricane models. Alright. Oh, mesoscale. That would be the NAM. Okay. Here we go. Here's the NAM. Alright, so this is the NAM model. Alright. So let's look at that. Let's see what it does here. Yeah, it does the loop-to-loop again. It intensifies it. And the NAM is kind of scary too, because it brings it really close to the, again, giving Jersey Shore a very hard hit for the Jersey Shore. It'd be devastating if that did verify, and then it just kind of has it sit there. I don't think that I I don't think the NAM has such a good track record, so I really don't think. Not. I don't. I hope that that's not the solution that verifies. I want to look at the hurricane model now. All right. This is. All right. This is actually a hurricane model here. HWRF. So we're going to look at that. And these are other models that sort of just follow the storm here, basically, and show what it's doing. And it basically keeps the worst of it offshore, just offshore. But again, that prolonged onshore flow is going to cause flooding. That's a disturbing track right there, too, as well. However, I really think that the track that is most likely, let's go back to the European. I think that the track most likely is what you're going to see on the European, which basically takes it offshore. It's going to loop offshore for a little bit, but I think the worst of it stays offshore, and then it moves away. It starts moving away. So the impacts, basically, from this model, I think, you're going to have some impacts on the Jersey Shore, and also I think if the Euro verifies, definitely eastern end of Long Island, southeast New England. You get hit pretty hard there, but I really can't believe it's going to just sit there for so long. I think it will wind up moving out of here by Wednesday. So let's hope that's what happens, and we'll just go back to this forecast here again. So basically, this is what we got right now. I'll keep you posted on it. I think there will be scattered power outages on Long Island. Scattered power outages, basically. Not widespread, but they will occur. There will be scattered power outages. And also, definitely coastal flooding is a real concern. So I want you to stay safe. If you are Fire Island or any barrier islands, I would just really think about just getting out of there. It's not the kind of place you want to be with this storm because of the prolonged fetch over the water with the flooding. Be safe, everybody, and I'll keep you posted if anything changes.